Hey guys, it's Chris Yeagle coming to you with a recap of 2023. Namely, to start off with this video, my biggest mistakes, top 5 mistakes of this last year, things we're going to try and work on next year. I'll also have a few highlights in the following video. I like to run a brutally efficient business, if you know me, and while 2023 was one of the top years that I've had, there were still a few missteps, things that did wrong. Top 5 items that I ran into. Number 1, getting caught up in a seller's urgency. Number 2, not qualifying the last time a seller saw their asset. Number 3, not understanding who the decision maker is, both on the buy and sell side. Number 4, not qualifying buyers on underwriting prior to tours. And number 5, ensuring sellers are honest in their intentions, stay engaged, and are accountable. So, a few more details on each of those for those of you that want to kind of hear it. The first one, getting caught up in a seller's urgency. This happened a lot last year. Often arises due to fiscal, loan timing issues, other undisclosed issues. They almost never tell you why, just sort of I need this done yesterday. This created a number of items that were of issues where I made mistakes. Not seeing units prior to providing the valuation. Very often a seller's urgency or lack of commitment to site access would limit diligence there. And I just found that relying on advertising photos as they would ask instead of multiple unit walks just didn't suffice. And we had a few deals where the conditions were, a total bait and switch. So that was really a problem. The second issue with that in the urgency was rushing to the market half-baked. It seemed like everyone wanted something done yesterday, couldn't explain why, and didn't want to provide you with any materials in order to get there. And that just really created issues, a lot more work on the back end. Fortunately, no missteps on that, but just I could see where that would have happened with a lot of other deals. The third component to the urgency was just not demanding backup or supporting data. I'm going to push on that a lot more. We're often told materials don't exist or they don't have them, and then they magically show up when someone asks for them during a due diligence. This really is bad. It just creates a sense of mistrust between both the broker and their client, but also the broker and their customer, and it just creates more tension and problems. It's just too easy to avoid, so we're kind of not tolerating that. So, I ultimately realized I did not do the client or myself any favors conceding to their urgency, and I know better than them as to what it takes to market and value a deal in this market, and so I failed us both and going to work on those. The second item, not qualifying the last time a seller saw an asset. Like, who would have thought this was a problem? But we ran across this a lot last year. You assume a seller knows their asset, but I saw that there was a clear disconnect between their impression of the asset and my reporting on real-time conditions, typically during a sale. Ultimately, we had to force several sellers to actually come visit their properties, to take a look at what the real situation was, and to understand once they were on site that they couldn't really argue with some of the feedback that they were being given and the reporting that was there on site. Some of these people hadn't seen their properties in a year, 2 years or more. As one client, these are quotes: "I don't understand. This was supposed to have been done." Or, "I remember this looking a lot nicer." Or, "Why does it look like this?" This just happened. In some cases, a lot of money was left on the table. I had one deal where we kept asking, "Do you have washer dryer connections? We see outlets on the side of the building." Everyone said no. Ownership and management didn't realize they had them. Some buyer walked away with quite a nice bonus on the deal. So I just felt like in order to make sure that both seller and broker are on the same page moving forward, we're going to avoid the pitfalls and just really force that site access and use it as a qualifier for the sellers prior to valuation. The third big issue we ran into this last year, I think this has been ongoing and is getting worse year by year, is not understanding who the decision maker is for both buyers and sellers. There's always been multiple GPs. There's always been multiple decision makers. I think with the presence of social media, this has become a bigger problem, particularly in the syndication space. where there are just a lot of people that say they own an asset and they are the decision maker, but at the end of the day, that there's only one. And that happens both on the buy and sell side. So we've just had to have some very direct conversations with clients and with customers, buyers and sellers, about like who wants to be involved in this, who will be involved, and if there's going to have a voice in it, we need to know who they are up front so that we can help manage their expectations and make sure that they're on board as well. The fourth one that we ran into this last year, not qualifying buyers on underwriting prior to tours. So I felt like 2023 was almost like 2020. There's been a wide variance in what people think the market value should be. And we just saw a lot of people that, were willing to go tour an asset and want to go tour an asset despite having their own underwriting being 40 or 50% off the asking price. I'm not sure why they'd waste their time or money on that. I know that there's been several brokers that have missed it by that much, but on the whole, most of the market's still landing around guidance, so I don't know why they would do that. Tours take a lot of time and commitment, so they can be very disruptive to on-site staff. So, towards the latter half of 2023, what we started to do to counter that was to qualify tours by running through a buyer's underwriting first to make sure that they're at least within striking distance and have them demonstrate to us that they're within striking distance of the asking price, just to ensure that we're not going to waste our time or the staff's time, and that we can really focus on the qualified buyers, especially given that we know the market, we know what the deals will sell for. Number 5, the last one, was just ensuring sellers are honest in their intentions, stay engaged, and are accountable. This was a big issue in 2023 as well. You wouldn't expect it, but it really was. The honest in intentions, the last several years, we've just seen a lot of sellers. They're just not honest about what they're doing from the get-go. No one wants to be the fluffer, and I know that a lot of sellers jerk around brokers and valuations, much like buyers probably get jerked around, on certain brokers' deals. But I think this has been a bigger and bigger issue where a lot of the guys, they want you to compete knowing that they're not going to hire you. So we're really trying to drill down and make sure that they are honest in our time as well as our clients' time if they're going to market the deal. We want them to stay engaged and be held accountable. Basically, we've seen that some sellers all of a sudden throughout a sales process start to miss scheduled update calls or delegate them to junior associates. This came up a good bit, and it tends to stem from either an issue or it creates an issue. When it stems from an issue, it's usually because the seller changed their mind and they don't want to tell us. Seller's not willing to waste their time on a weekly phone call, but they're happy to waste the broker and client's time or customer's time. So that could be because he doesn't like the market feedback. Maybe he was told by another broker it's worth more. Or even, and we've seen this over the last couple of years, they decide to refinance and don't want to tell the broker that they're doing it during a sale. The second one about staying engaged and being held accountable is one that typically creates more of an issue when offers come into play. Maybe the client's just too busy. He committed to calls, but he doesn't want to stay up to date on the process, and then he has this call for offers, and because he wasn't listening to the feedback, he's all of a sudden not prepared to make decisions, based on what was being brought to him. So, we've tried to do over the last year to improve this is we've made a lot of adjustments. We're adjusting to how we can communicate with sellers, both through written reports, weekly phone calls, weekly videos, and really just trying to find the different mediums for each client that they'll be able to focus on, but also demanding that they focus on it. So I do think this last one in 24 will be the hardest to adjust to because you're trying to change someone's behavior. To avoid being the fluffer, we've simply had to go to substantial lengths to understand the seller's motivation and their commitment. Generally what we're doing is putting a time commitment hurdle in front of them, like a questionnaire or a detailed operations call prior to us doing the valuation. That little bit of a hurdle tends to weed out the people that are just looking for your information. The accountability and engagement's been harder to improve upon. Historically we've had mandatory fees in the listings, and that tends to keep them engaged and keeps their attention. We still see some bad behavior like refinances that are undisclosed or a change in willingness to sell. So we've closed the 2023 with just having much more upfront conversations in 2024 with clients about what are our expectations throughout it, and how important it is while they are our client and they're number one, that really the customers are our clients too, and we're not going to waste their pursuit costs. That's it, the top 5 items for 2023 that I screwed up on and would love to improve upon. And we'll have another video coming up with some of the wins. Had a couple great things happen this year that were just really exciting and allowed us to accomplish a lot. Thanks.